Chismosas, I woke up early this morning so I can give you guys the tea on the oral arguments with TikTok and the Supreme Court today. And I'm not gonna stand here and say that I know anything about law. I don't have a law degree, and I'm not gonna give you a deep dive into any of this because I don't know too much about this. But I'm gonna give you a little overview of my point of view of what I saw was going on. And let me tell you something, just from my little brain understanding, it's going good for TikTok. And let me tell you why. Now, first and foremost, the first thing that I heard when I logged into this was the Supreme Court justices like going at it with the lawyers that are against TikTok, trying to ask them a lot of questions like, yo, this is not making sense. The math is not mathing. That was the vibe that I was getting. Like, y'all, you guys are saying this is not against the First Amendment, but it seems like you guys are just like, hey, anybody that's saying anything that we don't like, we could just shut them up, and that's not cool. And they had a lot to say, so let me dive into the notes that I had written down from what they said. They were like, no. This is about covert content manipulation because, China owns ByteDance that owns TikTok, right? They said, we're trying to close out a vulnerability. So then the Supreme Court justice was like, what do you mean? Like, again, math is not mathing. If it's about data and national security, then this argument would be very different, but you are arguing content-based and restricting speech. So the Supreme Court kept asking, like, isn't there anything like less restrictive that we could possibly do to keep TikTok and like keep things in line? And then the anti-TikTok girlie was like, well, that wouldn't really work because you can wall off the US part from the China base, but they share an algorithm and they all work together. So at some point, some information is going to flow in and out. So how can we be sure that the information is not going to be shared to China, which they're saying that, oh, well, they're trying to tear America apart. They're trying to get us to fight within each other so we could turn our heads and they can do whatever they want. And I'm like, And I'm not making that part up. She literally said that. She was like, they are trying to just keep us busy here talking about this and tearing us apart while they focus on some other things and, misdirecting us. And the reason why I keep saying that it was looking good for TikTok is because all the Supreme Court justices, specifically Sotomayor, who was my favorite, she just kept like, I can't get past this. It really feels like you're just trying to like say that if they are not saying something that you like, we're going to get rid of the whole app. And it just seems like too extreme. Sotomayor is like, you keep saying covert, and covert means they don't know. So what you're trying to say is that they don't know that China is behind this whole TikTok thing. But I mean, let's be real here. If they didn't know, now they know. What if they agreed to put some type of risk disclosure out there and be like, hey, this is owned by China. This could be this, that could be that. Then everybody would know. Then the anti-TikTok girlie, she's out here like, okay, well, it doesn't really make sense if you do that because a lot of the people that use TikTok are teenagers. And the teenagers, they'll probably just ignore that. They won't care. Which I'm not a teenager and I wouldn't care either. Then she said something crazy that I had to write down. She said, they would ignore the warning and they may grow up to be in the military or high positions in the government. And then that would lead to blackmail and espionage. A risk of all of that could happen when they grow up because of their data being leaked as a national security problem. So what she's trying to say is that the kids would be on the internet doing crazy things, and then China will develop this until they're in a position of power, and then they will blackmail them and be like, remember when you were on TikTok making these stupid videos saying these stupid things? Well, you better do XYZ or I'm gonna expose you twerking to this Bad Bunny song. Yeah, silly. The anti-TikTok girlie said something that I felt like was her projecting. She was like, ByteDance is using this as a game of chicken. So January 19th, they think that we'll back down and they won't have to sell. But nothing permanent or irrevocable happens on the 19th. If they do decide to sell after that date, they could still get TikTok back. Which I feel like the same thing could be said for both parties. Like, I feel like they could also be playing chicken with ByteDance. Just hoping that they back down before they do, Oh, there was a ton more, but this is just everything in a nutshell that I understood. And honestly, it was looking good in my eyes for TikTok. It really was, because it seems like the Supreme Court justices were not impressed with the anti TikTok girlies, as how I'm putting it, you know, everybody that's against TikTok. And I feel like it's looking good for us. That's all I'm saying. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Did you guys hear it? What's the vibes? Let me know down below in the comments. And don't forget to like and follow for more gossip, chisme, and all things tea.